a day. And I was like, well,
Yeah,
that's that. Hi, Carly.
that's crazy.
So that happened. And then what they had the no more reservations for dated tickets at Disney World. I always have to say for dated
Yes.
tickets to not confuse
Yes.
people.
Hey, Charlotte. I know. Well, and that's the thing, like people just keep saying for dated tickets. Okay, what does that mean?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
there needs to be some more explanation that Disney is giving with that. But like really essentially, if you're buying a ticket with a package, it's a dated ticket.
Yeah.
And like 90% of the tickets that Disney sells anymore are dated tickets. If they're like individual tickets, not don't think of like annual passes or things like that, but like if they are tickets that Disney is selling 9 times out of 10, they are dated tickets.
It's
So,
really confusing. Like, yeah, people are still confused, Maria. I'm like, honestly, I'm still trying to figure it out as an annual pass holder. I know there's good to go days for annual pass holders where you don't need a reservation, but otherwise you might. And then I'm like scared, like, well,
well,
what if they change it to not be a good to go day? Like, wait a
well,
minute.
and you have to be careful because I have discovered through the internet that the good to go days are not every park on that day.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So like some days are
You're
only
good to
good to go at
go
certain
to
parks.
this park.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's all crowd control. You know what I mean? It's all Disney manipulating where they want people to go
Yeah.
and all of that, which like is fine. You know what I mean? But yeah, like it's confusing. And then when you add in like
I agree,
figuring
Kristen.
out the virtual queues and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a lot. And it's like, it was already a lot. And now it's more a lot. I'm like,
Huh?
okay.
Well,
It's
and the
true
thing is like
Disney.
for annual pass holders, it's not super different overall. How much did I have to study? Not a ton. I mean, I read through the Disney website and then I like watched a couple people did like reviews on it. Like a couple people went that first day and were like trying to figure it out and like it's like the little tiny niche questions that Disney didn't put out like black and white answers to that everyone's like, so how does this work?
Well, like, I think what Lem, our friend Lem from Magic Bands and Trash Cans, he was trying to park hop, but then the buses weren't running until like
Yeah.
later.
Yeah, and I
So,
think the what's going to happen once Disney gets it all figured out is 10 a.m. is when the park to park buses are supposed to start.
yeah. Which makes sense. Like, it makes sense for them to not be running from like the drop. You know, like
Right.
only crazy creator
Very
people do that.
right.
You
Like
know?
very few people. But you've got to think, I wonder though, it may start to become an issue if people are doing morning dining reservations. Let's say
Yeah,
you're going to
that's
Crystal
true.
Palace in the morning at Magic Kingdom, but then you're spending your day at Epcot.
Yeah, that's true.
You're not gonna be able
That's
to
true.
get a bus. I mean, granted, there are ways around it, and if you are smart and you know property, you're gonna be
Well,
able
if you're
to
going Magic
take a.
Kingdom to Epcot, you could do monorail.
Yeah,
So
okay,
that
so that
one's
was a
okay.
bad example,
Bad
but you know what
example,
I
but
mean.
I was like, wait a minute.
But you know what I mean.
Yeah, Emily, I
So
agree. The virtual queues are a bigger
okay,
concern. Yeah,
so let's talk about the virtual queues.
yeah,
Let me hopefully help. Okay, so if you are, let's start with the dated ticket people. If you are a dated ticket person that does not need a reservation, if that is your category that you are in, at 7 a.m., you will see both virtual queues as available to you because you don't need a reservation. You don't need to pick which park you're going to. So
yeah,
if you are a dated ticket person, you're going to see both virtual queues be available for you in the morning. Now, I don't know. Let's say it's super slow and you get a virtual queue for Tron and Cosmic is still available. I don't know that it'll let you have more than one virtual queue at a time.
No,
My guess is
no.
probably
They
no.
said no. I saw something
Okay.
today that said no, and it was from like Planned Disney Panel. So I was like, okay, that's
Okay.
probably a pretty
Helpful.
reputable source.
Yeah. So the now the 1 p.m. for those people doesn't change other than the fact that you can park hop earlier. So if you start, you could technically ride both Cosmic and Tron easily to in the same day It used to be you had to like hope and pray that the virtual queue was still open at park hop time. You don't have to do that anymore. So you could do both in the same day very easily.
Yeah, I have to wait till one to get the other. Yeah.
Yes, and you still have to be in that park to get that queue.
Physically past the tap styles in order to get it.
If you are someone who needs a reservation, so that is annual pass holders, that is military tickets, that is like some of those like comp tickets that like cast members get, or like if you've been comped a ticket from something else, or there's some exceptions to that, but it's mostly annual pass holders and military need reservations. You have to have a reservation in the park that you want the 7 a.m. virtual queue for. So that is the same for those.
It's really not that much has changed for annual pass holders, quite honestly, except for maybe the good to go days if you're local.
Yeah. Now, right. So on those good to go days, I'm guessing it would just show as available for all annual pass holders.
If it was the good to go day for that park.
Or for
Gosh, it's so confusing when you're just trying to like get my head around it.
Yeah. So yes, park hopping has changed. Yes. So that's really all that's changed for annual pass holders for the most part. Tatiana, AP still have to start at their reserved park. Yes.
Yeah.
Annual pass holders still have to start at their reserved park. Oh, and that was the other thing I was going to say. So as far as Genie Plus goes, Barbie and I were looking into some of the new details with that. You still, so your 7 a.m. booking that you make on Genie Plus has to be at your starting park. So even though hopping has started earlier and all that kind of stuff, that hasn't changed.
Yeah,
so
if you're get it for another park Genie and then hop Plus, to it. Yeah.
Okay. If you're booking Genie Plus, at least your first ride has to be in your park that you are starting in. So either the park that you bought the Genie Plus for, it gets confusing. So like, I don't know exactly how that works with the non-reservation people. I'm guessing it doesn't really matter. You could book it in any park, but that would have to be the park you would tap into first, I would guess.
Yes.
I would guess. I don't know. You know what I mean? Because
with
there's
a
no
question
way for them
mark.
to like say, because you don't have a reservation. So there's no way for them to say that. But from my understanding, you would still have to tap into that first park. But I don't know if that would affect the Genie Plus. I don't know if you don't need a reservation, if that's also true for Genie Plus for your first park or not. Because there's no way for them to know.
Well, yeah, my question is then for like the good to go days, if you made a reservation for a park that's not on one of those good to go ones, do you have to cancel that reservation to get a virtual queue in some other park for the good to go ones?
Possibly.
Because I feel like you would have to get it in the one that you have a reservation in, right?
Yeah, your reservation would probably trump the good to go. So like if Magic Kingdom was not included on that, and you had a Magic Kingdom reservation, but Hollywood Studios was good to go, if you wanted Tron, you would have to keep that Magic Kingdom reservation.
Right. Okay. Do you need to use virtual queue to get on the ride? Depends. Yeah. The ones that have virtual queue, yes, unless you buy an individual lightning lane. So, and if you don't want to pay a lot of money to go on it. I mean, if you're just by yourself, it's not that bad sometimes, but if you're a full family, it's a lot. So yes, there's no standby for the ones that have virtual queue.
So that's Tron in Magic Kingdom and Cosmic Rewind, Guardians of the Galaxy Cosmic Rewind in Epcot both have virtual queues.
Yes.
There's no Carly, if you have a virtual queue, you have to reserve for that park. So flip-flop that, Carly. You have to have a reservation. If your ticket requires a reservation, you have to have a reservation for that park to get that virtual queue. If your ticket does not require a reservation, both virtual queues will be available to you at 7 a.m.
But you can only get one.
One to start. And then one to start.
It's clear as mud.
Okay, so Tori, I don't have a cut and dry black and white answer for you because it depends on your ticket. That was what we were like discussing a little bit earlier. So, okay. Two things. If you have a non-dated ticket that has to have a reservation, you have to book your first Genie Plus in the park that your reservation is in.
Yes.
That's one option. If you have a ticket that does not require a reservation and you buy Genie Plus, you have the option to buy whichever Genie Plus option is going to fit your day. If you're park hopping, I would buy the park hopper for your Genie Plus, and then you can book whatever first park you're going to go to first and start there. Now, there is an instance where, let's say, I could imagine starting in Animal Kingdom, not necessarily needing Genie Plus for Animal Kingdom, but then hopping to Hollywood Studios. You're going to want Genie Plus in Hollywood Studios 9 times out of 10. Yeah. If I were you that day, in theory, again, I don't know that this is 100% foolproof, but in theory, I would just buy the Hollywood Studios Genie Plus that day. But, and I believe in that case, I believe you would be able to start booking Hollywood Studios right away.
You would think so, because you've purchased it.
I believe, yes. Now, like I said, I don't know that for sure because I don't know of anybody who's tested it. So I don't have the data yet.
And I was like, I'm thinking like, it's different though. It's different than like Disneyland where like you have to be tapped into the park before you can start booking anything in any park.
So in theory, you would be able to book for that second park. Same thing if you had the park hopper option for your Genie Plus, you'd be able to book at whatever park you wanted to start in, I believe. Again, I don't have the data that says like, for sure yes or no,
just but kind of guessing. That is educated guess.
Yes, that is my best educated guess.
How many days do you need for Disneyland Paris? 3. It's kind of like Disneyland California in terms of like how much time you might need. You could probably spend a half day in the other Walt Disney Studios park. It's not a great park. I'm going to be 100% honest with you. They've done a few things to make it better. There's like, they have the whole, Ratatouille area, which is really fun. And they have the Avengers Campus, and the food in the Pim's Kitchen is like the best food I've ever had at Disney. So it's really good. But beyond those 2 areas, plus like Tower of Terror, there's really just not that much that is worth going on. So you'd spend the majority of your time over in Disneyland Paris. And I'd say 2 solid days there, you'll probably get to everything you want to go on and be done. So that's what I would do.
Any word on how Genie Plus will change this year? I feel like I earned my PhD with it in the recent trip. As far as we know, it is what it is for now. We haven't heard of any additional changes. There's tons of rumors.
Yeah.
Tons of rumors going around because I think a lot of people I think Disney announced things would be changing in January. And everyone went, oh, that must mean we're going to be able to pre-book. Oh, that must mean this. Oh, that must mean. And it was like, no.
They're like, now you don't have to have park reservations if you have a dated ticket. Yeah. Like that was the change.
Yeah. Like stop putting these rumors out into the universe. Knock it off because then you just confuse people. Just shush.
Really frustrating because there's a lot of content creators that are phrasing it in a clickbaity way where it's like Genie Plus is changing in January. And I was like, actually, not much is changing with that. At all.
No.
It's just the park reservation system changed.
Yeah. Have you guys heard anything good or bad about the dining plans? So my thing with the dining plans has always been if you're someone who is already going to be eating whatever the dining plan is giving you, if you're someone who does a lot of table services, if you're someone who does a lot of full quick service meals, then I think it's worth it. Because a lot of the deals right now are free dining plans. So like that takes care of your food. But if you're someone like me who we never do table services, we eat breakfast in our rooms, we pack our lunches, and we eat a few quick service dinners, it is definitely not worth it for me.
It's a ton of food, like a ton.
Yeah.
I've done it like twice with my family. And we could not eat everything that was in it. And I was like, we would have just saved money to just buy when we're hungry, just buy what we want to eat. So
I would highly suggest you like price compare like what you normally would spend for Disney, or what you think you would spend. Let's say if you haven't gone before, price out what you think you would spend, looking at menus of different places that you would want to go, and just see if that price is worth it for you. The thing about the free dining is you're booking a resort at full cost when you're getting that free dining.
Yeah, which kind
as
of
opposed
almost canceled it out.
exactly, as opposed to getting a 30 to 40% discount, which some resorts do have at different times of the year from your resort, and then just paying for your dining out of pocket. It really just depends on which makes the most sense for your family.
Yeah, I agree, Joel. Like I booked something for my family when we're gonna go this year, and it's the like annual pass holder rate for hotels was like the best option for us because it was so cheap.
Yeah. And some of the breakdown of the new dining plans is not the same as the old as far as like how many credits for what they have. So definitely if you're someone that's used to the old systems, I don't think they're exactly the same for the new dining plan for the breakdown. So I would look at that. JKU asked, what is your favorite Epcot festival? I like Flower and Garden. I think that's my favorite one.
I like Festival of the Arts, and I'm sad. I'm always sad that it's so short. And I do like Flower and Garden because it's just gorgeous everywhere. Yeah. But yeah, Festival of the Arts because I like Figment and I like the painting.
Yeah. Yeah. Carla asked, I'm going to Disney during Princess Run. Should I expect holiday-like crowds? Yeah, it's going to be busy.
Yeah, it's not as bad as like Thanksgiving, Christmas, but it's still like a busy holiday weekend kind of crowds. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
What are some of my favorite
books?
What are
your favorite books?
Okay. I was thinking I might make this for Mom Street because we were talking about New Year's resolutions on our last podcast episode, and we were talking about reading more, the resolution of reading more. And so I don't have any of them up here. My favorite books, my favorite Disney history books, I really like the Bob Thomas biography that I know you guys have been reading, Jackie, on Discord in your book club. And then I love... Gosh, there's so many. I love The Queens of Animation. It talks a lot about the women of ink and paint and the women that worked in animation in Disney Studios. That one's a great one. I love the Sam Genoway read through of kind of the history of Disneyland. If you just want kind of like a really highly detailed history of Disneyland, that's a really good place to start. It's pretty accurate and pretty well sourced. I like Disney's Land. I'm trying to remember who that's by. But that one's kind of like a collection of stories that you read through. That was recommended to me by my editor, actually. So I enjoyed that one too. So those are some of my favorites. And then I just like the ones that Disney put out that have a lot of concept art in them. There's a really good series about They Drew as They Pleased. That's all about the artists that created these classic Disney movies that we love. There's some fabulous stories about those artists and also their like concept art and their sketches, their early animations of some of these characters and the way that they used to look before they kind of like finesse them into how we know them to be. And so that's really fascinating as well. And then anything that has to do with Mary Blair, I will read all day long. So I do have a list of books. It's in my Mr. Lincoln bio. There is a list, an Amazon storefront list of Disney history books that I recommend. I'm going to add a few more onto it too because I just got a few new ones. So I'm going to add a few more that I've been reading. So yeah. From Stephanie, talk to me about rope drop at Magic Kingdom or Hollywood Studios. Hollywood Studios, Slinky, then Tower of Terror. Does Tower of Terror get a long wait quick? That depends. Depends on the day. Depends on whether or not they have both elevators working, because that will 100% change the scenario if they only have one lift working.
Yes. Yeah. So it depends on if you're using Genie Plus or not. And it depends on what your ride list is. It looks like Slinky and Tower of Terror, you could, if you've got early park entry, you could rope drop Slinky Dog and then go to Tower of Terror and you'll have no problem with wait. Even on fairly busy days, you'll have no problem with wait. Most people try to go to Rise. Don't go to Rise.
Don't do it.
You've got a 50-50 shot.
Rise has to warm up in the morning. It needs its coffee. And a lot of time it doesn't work right. So don't rope drop it, friends. Don't do it.
Yeah. So I would not
using Genie Plus.
So. Yeah, I would, if you're not using Genie Plus, I would rope drop Slinky Dog. Because if you don't rope drop it and you're not using Slinky Dog, you're going to wait at least an hour and a half, if not longer.
Yeah.
But you'll have no problem getting on Tower of Terror. It may be like a 30-minute wait, but to me, that's reasonable to wait 30 minutes for Tower of Terror.
Yeah. I think
And
that's
then
pretty
after
reasonable.
that, it's just a matter of going through your list of rides that are on your list. So Rise is not a morning person. And I also rope drop Mickey and Minnie's. That's my first ride that I go to.
I like
But
that
I
one
use
too.
Genie Plus, and I usually use Genie Plus, and I book Slinky Dog first. So we just hit Runaway Railway on our way to Slinky Dog. So, because I know you mentioned Magic Kingdom, that's a little bit more complicated depending on your list of rides that you want to do. But I will just throw out at Magic Kingdom, beware that if you are rope dropping Magic Kingdom and you've got early park entry, you only have access to Tomorrowland and Fantasyland. You do not have access to the entire left side. I'm probably mirrored. Left side of the map. So keep that in mind when you're rope dropping. Rope dropping something like Peter Pan, Seven Dwarfs, or Space Mountain are probably your top 3 options.
Yeah, so we did do some episodes on one-day park strategies for our Mom Street USA podcast. So that is out in the world, both on YouTube and our podcast on Apple Podcasts. It's also we're part of the Chip and Go podcast network, so you can listen to it there. But we did one-day park strategies for all of the parks in Disney World and also Disneyland, both with and without Genie Plus. So if you're just like, I just need somewhere to start and tell me like what order to book Genie Plus in, that's our go-to place to send y'all, because there's lots of great information there.
And we also have like printed guides that we created that live on one of our Discord channels. So if you go to the Walrus Carp Pocket Fam Discord and find our Mom Street channel, there is a secondary Mom Street channel that just has our guides on there that you can find it in print form.
What's the most overhyped restaurant? Space 220. I haven't been to Space 220 because it looked overhyped. Quite honestly. So
I am the wrong person to ask that because we don't do a lot of sit down type restaurants.
Yeah.
So I will say, and I've expressed this opinion previously on here, that I think Chef Mickey's is overhyped. I am not a fan of Chef Mickey's. I think the characters are wonderful. I think the food is not.
No, I would 100% agree with that.
So that is one that I have experienced that has not been great. I also wasn't super impressed when we ate at, and the name is escaping me, the restaurant inside the pyramid at Epcot.
Oh, San
Helen.
Yeah. I was like, that's it. I want to say Angel. It's not Angel.
I wasn't overly impressed. Yeah. It felt like it was very overpriced traditional Mexican food that I could get for half the price at another Mexican restaurant.
Oh, you like the pyramid? So, I've heard good things about the pyramid there.
Now this was, let's see, when did we go?
Before the pyramid.
We went in 2020 or 2021. I can't remember which trip it was that we went. And I just wasn't, I thought it would be like a really cool atmosphere to like go and eat in there. And it was just like, meh. And it was super dark. Like we had to get out our flashlights to be able to read the menus.
We did that too. I remember eating there with my father-in-law when the last trip we took with him. And
my kids were really little and like still at the age where we were having to like help prep their plates, like cutting stuff for them and things like that. It was very difficult to do that. So now that my kids are older, it may be a completely different experience if we were to go again. But our experience that we had was like, it wasn't terrible. The food was fine.
Yeah.
It just wasn't great.
I would say that the one that's like was a one and done for us. Actually, I did it twice, so that's not true. I'm lying. A 2 and done. Because we did it once without our kids and one with our kids, so that's why. Yeah. But we did Cinderella's Royal Table, which I think is worth doing if you've never done it before and you have especially little kids, or if you're just a kid at heart that really loves princesses. It's a great experience, but it's so expensive, and I wouldn't do it again just because it's just really cool to be inside the castle. I'm actually really sad that more people don't get that experience of being in the castle because of how expensive it is. I kind of wish that the castle was open like Disneyland Paris, where you could go inside, and Disneyland, where you could go inside and everybody could go in. So it's a bummer.
Right. What's
Let's
your
see.
take on Remy? I love Remy in Epcot. I think it's a super fun attraction. Very, very cute. My kids think otherwise, but they
Your
are
kids don't
very,
like it?
no, they
Mm.
don't. They don't want to ride it when we go.
Oh, sad.
Um, they don't like some of the jump scares, like with the hand reaching towards you. And they don't like going under the oven. It freaks them out.
Oh, yeah, I could see that.
So
Um,
I think if we give them a couple more years, they'll be willing to try it again.
yeah,
But
that's fair. Yeah, my kids like it, but we didn't like the backwards one in Disneyland Paris. That was that was a weird version. I like that area a lot. I like how they did in Disneyland Paris. I think it's better in Disney World than Disneyland Paris, actually, which is it's just bigger and more intricate and involved.
mm,
um, I do think I am one though that I am a-okay as much as I am nostalgic about rides and I study history and I appreciate the history like crazy. I do think it's important that we do make progress and move and change and grow because we as people grow, we as a culture grow, and so I'm okay with change. And I think Walt Disney really wanted it that way. He never wanted his parks to be stagnant. He was very clear. I just made a post about this today, actually, that he said that he wanted, when he finished movies and he put them on the shelf, he couldn't do anything to them. He couldn't fix them or manipulate them or make them better. But his parks, he can do that. He could plus them. He can change them. He can make it better. He can take things from his new movies and put them in his park. He actually said that. So, well, not verbatim. That's my but that's what he said, was that idea of you can take things from new movies and put them in the parks. So the Imagineers doing that, taking things from the new movies and putting them in the parks, is very much part of Walt's original vision for the Disney parks. And so I know I totally get people being frustrated with like their favorite attraction changing or closing, but I would say, like, yeah, it's always in a state of becoming. Yes. But anyway, that's my take on those. Is I like the ride itself and just in general. I think the ride's really
mm,
cute and really well done, and I think it's
yeah,
appeals to a lot of ages, even though it's not a thrill ride. It's more of a dark ride. So
yeah.
Amber, most underrated movie. Emperor's New Groove, such a yeah. I love Emperor's New Groove, big fan. But I have to
A
say,
good movie.
I was watching Cinderella last night for my birthday, and I was like, why don't we have a really wonderful Cinderella dark ride? How come that has not happened? We have a castle, we
Yeah,
don't have a ride. And I was like,
it's true.
this is a huge problem. Like, come on, if we want a new ride, like bring a Cinderella, like a really great Mary Blair art ride, dark ride to the Disney parks. People will love that. I would love that.
So
Just
you would live on that ride.
I would. Like, imagine with the technology, like how they could make that today would be so. And there's people chasing you while it's like midnight, and so there's so much stuff you could do with that. So
I think it's so hard because the Disney movie collection is so vast that trying to, one, include everything in the rides of the parks is impossible.
yeah, yeah,
And two, it's so hard for the Imagineers and the people who work on the parks to predict what is going to do well and predict it early enough to get the ball rolling to put it in the parks to make it relevant.
yeah. And I mean, I made that post about the ride that they never made that was all about the silly symphonies, and I was
Oh, I
like,
want that though.
right? I was like, that's such an epic ride idea that I think there's so much nostalgia now that like people really love to see in the parks. I'm
Yeah.
like, honestly, there's some silly symphonies that have some cultural problems that we can't include pieces of, but there are a lot that are just perfectly innocent that would be wonderful, you know? So
Yeah.
anyway, come on,
Well, and it's
Disney.
hard also because they need it to be something that's going to last through the generations.
Yeah.
So they truly can't cater to the older generations and the parent generations and the millennials. They have to cater to and think about the younger generation and what's going to last.
Yeah. I think it needs to be, if they do things that are classic, like honestly, I think Cinderella is one that would appeal to all generations, you know.
Yeah.
I think that
Yeah.
there's a way to do that, and I understand that a lot of the things they're doing now, they're doing a lot of things for cultural sensitivity, and they're doing a lot of that. And I totally get all of that. But I'm like, also, can we also look back and pull some of the stuff out of the archives and like make some of those things that would be really fun for everybody? I don't know.
Right.
Just
Yeah,
saying.
because so many of the stories are also timeless.
Right.
So like pull on some of that and make it all work out.
Favorite Walt Disney World resort is probably Riviera because I'm fancy. I can't afford to stay there, but I like it.
I honestly, I like Art of Animation a lot. I like Pop Century for the proximity. I know you hate Pop Century for the theming.
Yeah, no. Oh gosh, no.
But I like
Pop
it
Century.
for the cost and the location and Skyliner access. On the complete opposite side, I really enjoyed when we stayed at Port Orleans French Quarter.
Oh yeah, I like that one too. That one's at least at the front of the bus line. I know you don't usually take the bus because you drive, but like at least you get first dibs on the bus when you stay there
Yeah.
versus
Yeah. And it is
Riverside.
not easy to get anywhere from that resort at all, but I just enjoyed the vibes, and my kids loved that resort.
We
Loved
really
that
like
resort.
we like Riverside too, even though the buses are awful, awful, awful there. But I also really like Animal Kingdom Lodge with my kids. I think that one's a really fun experience. Alrighty.
Well, thank you all for hanging with us tonight.
Thank you everybody for being with us. It was really fun to chat with you all. And I'll see you tomorrow.
Bye, everyone.